Welcome to Hotline Miami, a game where you carry out anonymous hits on the Russian mafia while accompanied by synthwave beats and the orchestral sound of gunfire. In this game, you play as Jacket, a man who recently signed up for a newsletter and started to get messages on his phone instructing him to take out members of the Russian mafia, which he does with glee while donning one of his many animal-themed masks. Now, I've been on the fence about picking up this game for months, but I finally decided to pull the trigger during the Steam Summer Sale and I couldn't be happier. While being one of my shortest completions to date, this was a really fun grind and I am so happy that I was finally able to grind out all 35 achievements and add this game to my 100% catalog. For my first playthrough, I will primarily target the story and collectible related achievements, of which there are 4, and then finish up whatever achievements left in the post-game. While the majority of the achievements are obtainable from the start, grinding them out after the story is much faster for reasons we'll go into when we get there. So, without waiting any longer, let's get the grind going. The game starts with us standing in a dark room with a bum who is teaching us about the game's mechanics. I was going to skip this segment, but we actually unlock our first achievement during this tutorial. By bouncing a bat against the wall and hitting one of the dummies, we get our first achievement, playing pool. After we leave the tutorial, we enter a dark room with 3 masked characters. They immediately start asking us cryptic questions, with the one in the middle insisting we have met before, even telling us a date we actually met, the point the game really starts. The day is April 3rd, 1989. We wake up in our apartment to a message on our phone that gives us our first hit. We walk out the door, but before we leave, we open our package to find a chicken mask and a letter telling us that our target is a briefcase that we need to leave at a specified drop-off location. So without waiting any longer, we get into our car and drive to the metro station. We quickly take out the few Russians in the building, grab the briefcase, survive the ambush, and make our way to the drop-off point. We drop off the suitcase and head back towards the car, only to be stopped by a homeless man. We waste no time turning his brain case into pavement paste, which we immediately regret. With our last obstacle out of the way, we get in our car and head home. On the way, we stop at a gas station to grab a snack and our friend behind the counter starts to express concern about our whereabouts after the loss of our girlfriend, but quickly changes the subject, gives us a snack on the house, and sends us on our way. Before we continue further, I want to say that I won't be discussing every chapter as most don't have plot-related information, so unless something important happens or we get an achievement, I will be breezing past most of them. I also won't be talking about the level intermissions as most don't provide anything plot-related until later, at which point that night will be mentioned. As much as I would love to include every little bit of lore, I have to leave some details out so this video doesn't get too long. While Chapter 1 is more of the same violence but now in an apartment building, we do earn our next achievement, Nigel Lowry, for using a human shield. Chapter 2 was when I realized that this game has collectibles and I started to collect them, and we earn our next 3 achievements for getting a 4x, 6x, and 8x combo. Chapter 3 is our next plot-related chapter, and it starts like any other mission. We barge in, take out the targets, and grab the collectible. During this process, we earn our next achievement, Domino Effect, for causing an enemy's dropped weapon to hit another enemy. On our way out, we encounter a new enemy type, the Thug. We use the conveniently placed shotgun to take him out and talk to the woman lying in the room, who wants us to just get it over with. We end the mission by rescuing her and bringing her back to our place for safety. We once again find ourselves among the 3 masked men. While we still can't make any sense out of the horse or owl, we at least know a little more about the chicken, who asks us some weirdly introspective questions before we part ways. After grabbing the collectibles in chapters 4, 5, and 6, we can move on to chapter 7, which is our first level containing an actual boss fight. Before we go and fight him though, we must first fight through yet another apartment. We enter the building, grab the collectible, and fight our way up to the top floor. Once cleared, the phone in the master bedroom rings, informing us there has been a change of plans and we need to head to the telephone company and take care of a prank caller. Without missing a beat, we get into our car and head over there. We enter the building to see this prank caller has painted the building a very nice shade of employee. We take the elevator up to the top floor and find that this prank caller is some guy wearing a biker helmet. It doesn't take long for us to get the upper hand, and right before we treat his head like a golf ball, he lets out that he doesn't want it to end like this and that he was so close. This won't make sense for now, but we learn more about what he meant later. We complete our job by finishing him off and head back home. Just like that, we're in our last meeting with the 3 masked men. Since this is the final meeting, I feel like this is the best time to talk about them in a bit more detail. Each of these men represent a different voice in Jacket's head. Don Juan, depicted by his girlfriend, represents his voice of compassion. Richard, depicted by himself, represents his voice of reason, and Rasmus, depicted by a Russian mobster, represents his voice of hatred. These meetings serve as a player's first insight into how broken Jacket's mind is. There are more examples later, so for now, let's get back to the grind. While Chapter 8 isn't important, the intermission afterwards is, so we grab the collectible and get in the car. When we arrive at the gas station, the body of Biker lies on the ground and our friend behind the counter tells us that what we're seeing didn't really happen. Turns out he was right, as after a flash of light, the body disappeared and everything played out like any other night. Chapter 9 starts like any other mission. We take out the immediate enemies and make our way up to the second floor. We take out the first few enemies and move forward, but sadly it appears that our crime spree is over as the police have finally caught up to us. Normally, the police don't add too much difficulty to this mission, but for us they do. You see, this level's collectible is right next to the elevator they enter the level from. This is by far the hardest collectible to grab in the entire game, but that doesn't stop us. We grab the collectible, evade the police, and safely end the mission. After a long day of running from the police, we stop at a pizza place to grab a bite to eat and are stopped by a corpse of a Russian and his dog. Remember earlier when I mentioned there were other examples of how broken Jacket's mind is? This is what I meant. Jacket's guilt is starting to manifest in hallucinations of those he has unalived. We leave the Russian and his dog and enter the building, and if things couldn't get any worse, some guy in a green tracksuit has killed our friend. Since we can't get a free pizza, we just get into our car and head home. We've been talking about story for a while now, but lucky for us, our dry spot is over because we unlock our next 2 achievements in Chapter 10. The first achievement we unlock is Dog Lover for killing 99 dogs. Then, not even 10 minutes later, we unlock our next achievement, Let in Some Air, for destroying 200 glass panels. We also grab the collectible. Chapter 11 is our next boss level, but to fight him, we first have to make it to the end of the level. We grab the collectible on the second floor, during which we unlock the achievement 1989 for killing 1,989 enemies and finish clearing the level. We return to the ground floor, and as we go to leave, a van drives to the front door. The side door opens and we have to fight off a couple wave of mobsters while dodging Molotov. This is by far the easiest boss in the game, so it doesn't take us long to take out the driver and end the mission. Instead of waking up in our bed, we arrive at the front door of our apartment building. We go upstairs to see that our door is open and our girlfriend is dead. A guy in a rat mask is sitting on our couch, and when we go to confront him, he shoots us. We wake up in a dark version of our apartment to see our own dead body and Richard sitting on the couch. He tells us that this is goodbye and go to the apartment across the hall. As we leave our apartment, a flash of light changes us into a hospital gown. We enter the room and our head explodes from seeing our body lying on the bed. Chapter 12 begins with a police officer talking to a nurse about when we will wake up. Apparently, we have been in a coma for weeks and they need to wake us up for some questioning. The police officer tells the nurse that they arrested the guy that shot us and we want revenge. So much so that we wake up from our coma and need to sneak out of this hospital. This is, without a doubt, the worst mission in this game. We have to avoid detection while stumbling around and doubling over in pain if we don't take breaks. After what feels like forever, we finally manage to shamble our way to the collectible and the elevator to the first floor. Since we have had ample time to learn the mechanics, we make short work of the ground floor and make it to the exit. After finding our iconic jacket, we get into our car and head to Chapter 13. We arrive at the police station that Ratman is being held at, and we want revenge. The police aren't too happy about us barging in, but we make short work of them, grab the collectible, and climb the floors. We finally make it to the level that Ratman is held on, but first we have to take out the police chief and the armed police officers in the central room. While this is technically a boss fight, it doesn't play like one. We shoot down everyone in the central room and unlock the cell holding Ratman. He tells us he doesn't have any answers for us, but there's a file nearby that has the information we are looking for. So, we give him his bullet back and end the mission. Chapter 14 is much like the last mission, the important part lies at the end. So, we grab the collectible and clear the chapter. It takes a little convincing, but we convince the man at the end to tell us where we can find the mafia boss. With his location known, we close up the loose end and get in the car. Chapter 15 is both the final and shortest mission of the main story. We arrive at where we were told the mob boss is and eliminate the 3 enemies in the main lobby to grab the collectible. We enter the boss room and start the fight. For being the final boss, he surprisingly isn't that hard and it only takes us around 20 tries to finally beat him. Sadly, we don't get the satisfaction of putting him down, as when he realizes that he is lost, he grabs a gun from the desk and gives himself a lobotomy. We grab his gun and take the elevator up to the top floor. There, we meet the actual mafia boss, who accepts what we're here to do. We reunite him with his son, walk to the balcony, light a cig, and as we throw something off the ledge, we earn the achievement The End for beating the main story. With the main story beaten, we now move on to the epilogue, which is a much shorter experience. It starts with us playing as biker and we're threatening a bartender to tell us how to get out of this hitman stuff. He tells us there's a guy at a restaurant nearby who knows how to help us. So, we get on our bike and head to the restaurant. We arrive and cut our way to the back where the man is hiding. He says he can't tell us who's calling the shots, but sends us to phone Hom to trace the signal. Before we go there though, we first stop at an arcade to finish our last job for 50 blessings. This level is incredibly simple, as all there is to it is violence. We finish the job and head for phone Hom. We find ourselves at the phone company we went to at the end of Chapter 7, so we all know how this is going to go down. We get to the top floor and start to trace the signal, only for Jacket to arrive to kill us. Unlike when we were playing as Jacket, this time the fight is incredibly easy because we one-tap him. With the signal traced and Jacket dead, we get on our bike and make our way to the last chapter. We arrive at the base of operations for 50 blessings, and right as we enter the building, one of the leaders sees us and makes a run for it. We chase him into the sewer and see cables running over to a series of computers with 2 guys operating them. We start to question one of them, but he doesn't give us any straight answers. We end the conversation and unsubscribe them from their club. As we leave and get on our bike, we unlock the achievement "That's It" for beating the Epilogue. The end of the Epilogue marks the end of the story, and now it's on to the post-game grind. However, before we seriously start grinding, we have to first return to the first 2 chapters and grab the collectibles so we can earn our last 2 story-based achievements. We go back and grab the collectibles from the prologue in chapter 1, earning us the achievement "Eye for Details" for collecting all puzzle pieces. We start the final chapter again and unlock the achievement "The Boss" for solving the puzzle. The same scene plays out when we enter the building, but before we go chase him down to the sewers, we type in the solution to the puzzle into the computer. We then go to meet the 2 men in the sewer and tell them that we went through their computer. This time, the guy tells us that they are a group of patriots that founded 50 Blessings to break apart the Russo-American coalition. We've heard enough and unsubscribed them just like last time. This time, when we get on our bike, we earn the achievement "This Is It" for beating the Epilogue with a secret ending. Now we can fully move on to the post-game grind, and the first thing we do is go back and complete chapter 2 while wearing the Nigel the Bat mask. This is a particularly heinous achievement because the Nigel mask reverses all movement controls. On the bright side though, this mask does help us unlock the achievement "Karma" for dying 1,000 times. After what feels like 60 or 70 attempts, we unlock the achievement "Batman" for clearing chapter 2 using Nigel the Bat. As a cherry on top, we earn enough score from this mission to unlock the achievement "I Got New Friends" for unlocking all weapons. Next, we move on to getting the last 2 combo-based achievements. After some research online, I found that the general consensus is that chapter 13 with the Tony mask is the easiest way to get these achievements. Even on one of the best maps and masks for this, it was still incredibly frustrating. The combo was easy to drop, and if we ever got 12 kills and died, it wouldn't count. It did take us 30 to 40 attempts, but we finally unlocked the last 2 combo-based achievements for getting a 10 times and 12 times combo. We then set out to unlock all of the "Use all of X weapons" achievements. First, we used the Richter mask to unlock the achievement "Guns for Show" for using every gun once. We then move on to chapter 5. This level is the reason I said that grinding some achievements in the post-game is easier. This chapter contains a room that starts with 2 random weapon spawns. We use this room to quickly unlock the achievements "Pitcher" for using all throwing weapons, "Knife for Pros" for using all melee weapons, and "Always on Top" for performing every ground kill. With only 11 achievements left, we're just about done. Our next goal is to unlock the last 2 somewhat difficulty-related achievements and then move on to unlock the mask and level-based achievements. We load up chapter 5 again and reset until we get a brick, and then head upstairs and over to the room on the right to wait for the mobsters to line up. After a few tries, we throw a brick and unlock both 2 birds with 1 stone for killing 2 enemies with the same brick throw, and plain luck for killing 3 or more enemies with 1 throw of a brick. We only have 2 groups of achievements to unlock now, the level-based and mask-based. We decide to target the level-based ones first and load up level 15. We put on the Brandon the Panther mask and unlock the achievement "Catfight" for killing a panther during the boss fight using Brandon the Panther. Next, we load up chapter 6 and unlock the achievement "Smell Something Burning" for killing the crapping gangster with the fire axe. Finally, we once again load up chapter 5 and earn the achievement "These Are My Guns" for completing chapter 5 barehanded. The last group of achievements we need to unlock before we tackle the last 2 are the mask achievements, and lucky for us, we're only missing 1, and it's a hidden mask in chapter 5. Since we're still on chapter 5 from the last achievement, we grab the crowbar and open the manhole cover out back and climb down the ladder, unlocking us the achievement "Sewer Alligator" for finding Jones the crocodile, and when we pick up his mask, we unlock the achievement "Zookeeper" for collecting all masks. Since all we have to do now was wear all of them, we just spam restart and put on a different mask each time, which eventually unlocks the achievement "Sounds of Animals Fighting." It's now time to go back and A+ every chapter, which honestly wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. My personal tactic was to wear the Carl mask and only go for executions. The reason I chose to do this is that the Carl mask lets us start with a drill that can only kill by executions, and it also rewards more points per execution than any weapon in the game. By only using this tactic, we can also pump up our boldness and mobility score categories. All of this together basically guarantees that we get an A+ in all chapters except one, Chapter 9. Our tactic allows us to easily get an A+ on 14 out of 15 chapters, even earning the achievement "Aced It" for getting an A+ on any chapter along the way. But no matter how many executions I got, I could not get higher than an A- on chapter 9. After looking up some other solutions, some people mentioned that using the Zack mask and chaining an incredibly long combo works. So, since our strat isn't working, we give this a shot, and let me tell you, This single chapter is responsible for this 100% being so miserable. Finding a path that allows for us to carry the combo to the second floor should be easy, except sometimes the enemy's behavior changes and we have to improvise. Getting a run that would allow for us to carry the combo easily took over 100 tries, but we finally get it. The entire level probably took around 130 tries, but we can finally finish the chapter and get our well-deserved A+. After earning an A+ on all main story missions, all that we have to do now is A+ the chapters in the post-game that has score. The only chapter out of these 3 that gave me any trouble was chapter 17, but we quickly figured out what was needed from us and get our final A+, finally unlocking the achievement Get a Life for getting an A+ on all chapters. There's only one achievement left between us and our 100%, and all we have to do to earn it is go to the car 14 more times. We load up the prologue because we go to the car twice this level, rewarding us 2 points to the achievement each run. We finish up our last run and unlock the achievement 60 to car for going to the car 60 times, and while the game counts up our score, we unlock our final achievement, Achievement Whore, for earning all other achievements. And with that, Hotline Miami is finished. This game was a blast, and I will definitely be covering Hotline Miami 2 in the future. So, make sure to like and subscribe if you're interested in that or our next grind, Tribes of Midgard. But until next time, take it easy.